things could be so different for you, and it's actually not that big of a lift, but you're so resistant to change and evolving that you're just continuing to sit in struggle for so much longer than you have to. Because if you just were willing to look at a few things and make a few changes, your sales would be popping off.
Is there anything that you feel has helped you develop that vision?
I think when you have a vision for your life that are run by your values and having family values and business values, it's actually very easy to make decisions.
Not only write down the values, but how often are you making decisions from those values? So when the question comes up, you filter it through, okay, what are my values? Oh, okay, then that's the easy decision. What is the thing that drives you the most crazy when you look at the online industry right now?
Oh, where do you start with that? Welcome back to the Iconic series. And in this episode, the tables have turned and Dan took a chance at interviewing me. And in this episode, we are diving into really some of our hardest times, how I have evolved over the years. And really, he asked really good questions about how my brain works as the CEO of our company. So I hope you enjoy this episode.
All right. Well, this is exciting. This is our in-person interview for our Iconic series, and I get to start the course. So this is excited to kind of share the behind the scenes and ask you the questions, because so much when Nicole and I sit down to talk, you are the one who asks the questions. You are the one who kind of prepares, and I just kind of show up, answer some questions, and then move on. So my intention behind this, because we live together, we are married, we work together, we are around each other a lot, is to try to kind of share some of the behind the scenes of what we've gone through, what has happened, what has we've gone through, because I feel like our life and our business is extremely good right now, and it is a result of so many decisions we made 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. And I feel like it all started with you. And I feel like even when we first started dating, immediately I was like, I trust her. Like whatever you say and the questions you asked me and the things that you made me think of, I was immediately like, whoa, this is different. And I feel like over the last, 15 years, 20 years, the biggest change is that I feel like you trust yourself as much as I trusted you from the beginning. So I think one of my goals is to highlight those changes and what I've seen and allow you to speak about like what those changes started. So yeah, does that sound good?
Yeah. How many times are you going to cry?
My goal is 0, but I was going to prep Brianne and Danny, be like, if I just start bawling, we'll just pause and come back. But I made it through that first part. So okay. I think from here on out, it should be downhill from here, but we never know. So I wanted to kind of start in 2015 because I feel like that's a big transition period for us. We had our second baby. I stopped my full-time job. I came, not doing a full-time. I wasn't in the business full-time yet, but you started your podcast. And for me, I just kind of wanted to talk through like what was going through your head when you started that podcast. How far did you let yourself dream? What did you think would come of it? Like, what were you thinking if you go back to early 2015 when you started this podcast? Because this is that same podcast, incredibly.
Yeah.
What were you thinking of when you started it?
Just that I like to talk to people. I love to understand the way people's brains work, and that's really just what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to like highlight other women. And when I started, it was in the food industry. So I was talking to a lot of women in the food industry. I really wanted to understand them, the way their brain worked, how their businesses worked, and just get to be in deep conversation. We all know I don't like surface level conversation. So it was a way for me to like connect with people, go deep, understand what they were going through. I really just wanted to do that. And that, I mean, it's the same thing. It was my same intention with this Iconic series too, is like, let's just showcase people, have conversations. And I want to showcase how my brain works, because I'm like so obsessed with learning how other people's brain work and hearing like people's thought process. So it really wasn't for necessarily a specific outcome of just like, oh, I'm going to have a top podcast. It was just like, who can I talk to? How can I connect with them? And how can this help
Yeah.
other people?
I think one of the things that you are obsessed with that I would love to talk to you about is so much of the time you're speaking to women who are successful currently, and you're trying to go back and say, like, what were the decisions that you made that people thought you were crazy, people thought you were risky? And so what do you think, like, 2015, before, after, what were some of the decisions that you have made that you think were perceived as either risky or people just didn't understand what you're doing or why you're doing it?
I mean, starting a blog
Oh
called
gosh.
Making Good Choices.
What
That
year
was
was
my
that?
first blog. I mean, I started it before we got married. So that was 2008.
Wow.
So a very long time ago, going to integrative nutrition and doing it mostly, it was all online except
It
graduation.
was a US, it was a pod,
They sent one of those Apple,
shuffles or something. What are they
yes,
called?
yes,
iPod. An
yes, an
iPod shuffle.
iPod.
Yes.
Yes, an iPod shuffle. It was red. It was like this big. And everything, all the course material was loaded up in there, and we got a giant binder. That was weird at the
That
time. It
was
was like
weird.
online education. So I mean, taking health coaching clients, starting to sell baked goods for like $5. I mean,
Mhm.
there's so many things. Even when we hired a co-packer to do work for us. That was like our first foray into
Yeah.
delegating, hiring people to work for us. So those were the first.
And so I would love for you to talk more about like your process for making decisions about things before you know they'll be successful. So like what goes through your brain as you either currently or in the past make decisions about either a question or a pathway to go down?
One of my superpowers is making fast, solid decisions because I don't think I make flippant decisions, but I
Mm,
make them very fast. And I think that's having an inner guidance system, intuition, using facts and trying to take my emotions out of it as much as I possibly can. But I think the reason why we've got here is because I don't take a long time to make decisions. I make them
mm,
very fast and I move. And I'm sure that's somewhere in like my astrology or human design or something that
yeah.
has given me that gift. But I don't catastrophize things. I just think like I'm only trying to make the best decision for myself with the information I have in this moment. And I'm just doing the best I can and know like I have gotten out of 100% of the situations I've been in. So I'll figure it out. If something else comes up, we'll figure it out. I always know that. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about what could go wrong. I more
Mm.
think about what will go right. And if a problem comes up, which of course they do, then we just course correct or fix it.
I actually see your superpower with the decisions more from the vision that you have and the vision you hold and how you never sacrifice that vision. So the reason why I think you're able to make quick decisions is you view them as relatively simple because you have such confidence in the long-term vision.
Mm.
And I think that's one been so interesting to me is seeing the vision of the personal and the business come together and in our family life as well. Is there anything that you feel has helped you develop that vision, or have you just had that vision from day one? Because I just remember when we were having conversation when we were first married, just saying like, this would be so much fun to live, like actually be together, like
Mm.
actually work together, have a family together, raise kids together, instead of what we saw traditionally was like the woman does this, the one partner does this, the one partner does that, and it's completely separate. Like they seem to be living separate but parallel lives. So I felt like you were one of the first ones to kind of challenge that vision and say like start this conversation of what could it be? How could it be different? Do you have any sense of like where that came from?
I think what we have done, I think we do this together, is living a values driven life. And I think when you have a vision for your life that are run by your values and having family values and business values, it's actually very easy to make decisions. I think when you're not clear on your values, that's when you struggle with
Yeah.
them. So as long as you have your values top of mind and they're always present, like literally in every single thing you do, you're either moving towards your values or you're moving away from them. And obviously, like, sometimes you may make a short-term decision to sacrifice your values, maybe, but it's never for the long-term
Yeah.
sacrifice.
So would you say that the values inform the vision?
Yeah, I would. I would, because how we have grown our business has been from values. And it could be easy to just say, oh, well, I'm going to, if I want to grow a $10 million a year business, I'm just going to travel every week and I'm just going to do all these speaking and I'm just going to go all over. But
Mm,
that doesn't line up with our family values. So I am driven by the values and the vision supports
yeah.
the values.
A lot of people talk about values of like, oh, you should have values. You should write down your values. I think your ruthless like attachment to the values, I don't know if attachment's the right word, but I think that is something that you have distilled really well to me and our girls. I think is just like these are our values. We are not moving from these. And I think that's just like a really good conversation that I don't think enough people have is not only write down the values, but how often are you making decisions from those
Mm.
values? And again, I think that's another reason why you make extremely quick decisions is you always remember your values and there's no slippage there. So when the question comes up, you filter it through, okay, what are my values? Oh, okay, then that's the easy decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always easy, but like, what's the right decision?
It may
Yeah,
not be easy to do, but it seems almost
yeah,
obvious at the time. So the next kind of like year that I had highlighted as just like a major change was 2020. And I think for us, I viewed it as like a metamorphosis for you. And it's like,
yeah.
I'm again in that unique position where I see all sides of you. And the 2019 you versus the 2021 you was just on a completely different level. I don't know if you want to like go back to that, but like, did you do that consciously? Was there certain outside influences that like almost forced you? What kind of started that?
Well, I think let's give context. In
Right.
2019, we had a membership that was, I would say, successful membership that we really focused on helping bloggers grow their business online. And it was a launch model, so we were launching a few times a
Yep.
year. It was like probably 3 times a year, and it was kind of on rinse and repeat, but I was never happy with the level of results that we were getting, and it just
Mm,
led to a lot of exhaustion and burnout and just like almost like feeling underappreciated also by just I felt underappreciated by the business. I can't even say it was like clients specifically, but I felt underappreciated by the business. And I remember just saying to you, like, I can't do this anymore. I'm exhausted. And one of the superpowers of having a husband and wife team, I mean, you just were like, okay, great. Like, shut it down. We're not going to do it anymore. We will figure out something else. And at the end of 2019, we took the leap and we shut it down. And I've shared that story a few times because it was not graceful. It was not good. We didn't do it in a way that was like, oh, like repeat this. It was,
here's how you shut down a
yeah,
membership. More
this
like
was,
here's how
yeah,
not to
this
shut
was
down a
not
membership.
it. We were just like, hey, we're shutting it down. If you want to pay more money to continue to access, then
The
you
same
should come.
things.
Yeah. And some people did come, but like our marketing was not good for that. We were still running programs, but I took a lot of time off that year to really figure out who I was. And obviously that was a huge privilege because you just went into I got this mode and you picked up Facebook ads clients. We ended up growing our Facebook ads clients company like to be very profitable and do very well for us. And I kind of, while continuing to do content and continuing to do some course things, I took a lot of time off, and you really allowed me to step back and to almost be more of like a consultant in the business than, even though I still was, I would say, pretty front
Yeah.
facing, I had the privilege of taking a lot of time off. And I think one of the things is you just always have trusted me so much that you knew I would come back and figure it out. And that also was a very tumultuous year for us personally in our family life, like with our parents. So that, I mean, just having the space to just like be okay and to take time off allowed me to catapult in 2021 when we created Elevate, and then a year from there we had our first 100K month, and we haven't looked back since. But it was taking time off and being okay, which I don't know how good I wish, this is where I wish I like kept a journal, because I don't know how okay I was in the moment of not being in all this forward momentum. I probably
Yeah.
wasn't that okay with it, but I think like on a soul level, I was okay with it. And I think you have to know, like, you need breaks.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to.
It's interesting because again, memory is not perfect, but I don't recall you being very upset about like what was happening on like in like your side of the business. I also felt like I don't think we ever had a discussion of you saying, I'm going to take a break. I think it was just more understood of just like, hey, I need a little bit of a backseat. You take a little bit more of the front seat in terms of driving revenue. But that whole year, you were still creating content. You were still doing stuff. I just think there was a more relaxed energy behind it of just like, I'm just going to test some things out. But we both knew that we were going to figure it out and it was going to come back
Hmm.
around. And so it wasn't like, well, I'm never going to go back to running programs or
Yeah.
anything. It was more of a, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to figure out what I want to do. I'm going to figure out what the market wants to pay me for. Meanwhile, I got to run Facebook ads, and I think both of us got like a much deeper understanding of online marketing, how things works, what doesn't work, which worked really well for us. When you were going through that, like the spiritual energetic changes, were there certain tools or things that you were going through that like really helped, or that like practices that pushed you to make that change?
Again, I really wish I kept like
This is why I asked,
a
because I don't
personal
remember.
journal. That was around the time where we had joined Jim Fortin's TCP coaching program. And there was a
Um,
lot, like we were doing a lot around just like taking personal radical responsibility for your life. That really was where we learned to communicate with each other even better,
mm,
and just take responsibility for our life, for our actions, for our relationships, for the way we showed up. So I think that was a really, really big deal, because we did learn how to take radical responsibility, how to create the life. And whether you want to talk about this on like a manifestation or a spiritual aspect from that point of view, but I think that's when it was like, okay, like, do I actually believe that we create our own reality? Yes, I do. So where am I putting my energy
mm,
into? What am I creating? Where am I limiting myself? What are my limiting beliefs? What's my mindset? And it's such a nuanced conversation, because I think a lot of people get like stuck in the mindset work and are always like looking for a block to solve,
mm.
and that's not the way I used to do that. And it's like, oh, well, it must be a block. It must be something, instead of just like taking action and see what comes up.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest things I have done is figure out how to listen to my intuition more. If I knew I was creating, how would I take more responsibility for my life?
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like even going back to when we were first having discussions, I think it probably was in 2015, around those years, when I would sit down and like do the math and be like, we only need to earn this
Mm,
amount to pay the mortgage and the utilities and that kind of stuff. And you were like, that is the dumbest, like, no, like we're shooting for so much more of that, and just kind of holding that. And I feel like even in 2020, I think this was a big difference. at no point did we say, "Oh, we have to like downgrade." Like we're not moving backwards, we're moving forward. And I think that's one of the things that you've always held me to is like, no, there's only one direction. We are going forward, we're moving through this. And so I think that was one of the big kind of different underlying like energy of 2020 was things are changing, but we're not moving backwards.
Mm,
We're progressing, we're moving ahead. And so I think like everything that you were working through and going through, it was always with the expectation of like, I'm going to get out of this and it's going to be so much better when we figure this out. And I also think even though you were working through stuff spiritually, energetically, all that kind of stuff, it didn't stop you from trying out things. And I even know, like, I think that was the year that we first started to talk to Dania of like, hey, we're going to be growing this group program really
mm,
soon and you're going to be working with us. And she was like, oh, sure. Let me know, like, so I think that is a really big difference is like, even when you were processing things and going through it, you still were holding on to that energy of like, this is all going to work out.
yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that so many of our clients I think still, or like people that we talk to still struggle with is they have that like overwhelming doubt of this could be it. This is the day that the business shuts down or the business stops getting sales or everything stops working. And I think that's why like you're such a calming energy for so many people because you say like, that's not going to happen. Let's just figure out what we need to work on. How do you handle that? Like when people come to you like super agitated or stressed out or like in that, oh shit, everything's broken moment, how do you always stay grounded and kind of guide them to what their next decision it should be?
Well, practice, I'll say, because I definitely used to take on way more of clients. So I'll speak to two sides of it. One, like energetically, like I always have myself protected. So,
Mm,
like, I think that's important to talk about because I have a morning practice that I go through every single morning where I'm grounding myself, I'm connecting myself, I'm like tuning in and I'm literally in an energetic bubble, so other people's energy can't get through to me. That's the energetic side of it. And the other side of it is like I think of it as like a parent energy. Now I don't think of our clients as my kids. That's not what I'm saying. But I think of it as like a parent energy. And to be the best parent that I can be, I have to let my kids go through what they're going to go through and let them go through hard things and let them go through challenging things and let them feel their feelings and just let them be who they're going to be. And I will always be there for them and I will be grounded and I will stand there and I will just be that guiding force for them. And they can give me what they've got, but I'm not going to take it on and I'm just gonna be there
yeah.
with you. Now, with kids, it is a little tricky, especially as they get older, it changes a little bit, but it stands with your clients where it's like, I know that I have been through really hard times, really big problems, and I have gotten the biggest lessons and the biggest gifts from that. So I'm never trying to get a client to not have a problem or not go through something because for some reason on their higher self, their soul chose to go through everything they're going through. So who am I to get in the way of that? And I will be there as a guide on the side to help them through it. So when someone comes to me, if they're in a frantic energy or they're going through it, I can sympathize with them and support them and guide them. But ultimately, I come from the perspective of you need this lesson. So I'm going to help you through it. But I'm going to know, like, for some reason, your highest good chose for you to go through
Hmm.
this. So when you come from that context, then how could I take anything on? Because one, it's not about me. And two, I'm just trying to stay grounded so I can help them go through this thing that they need to go through.
Yeah. And you mentioned like intuition and really trusting your intuition. And obviously, like you use that to make decisions. But I also know, obviously, being around you enough that like that we're always talking about data and how important data is. So
Mm.
when it comes to making business decisions, how much are you using intuition versus data and what comes first and what are the percentages?
Oh, I mean, gosh. I mean, we use both all the time. We use both all the time, but I think intuition supersedes
Yeah.
all of the time. I would say all of the time. Sometimes I know, like, okay, I need to hand off this decision to you to make, but often I will invoke the you just have to trust me. And
Yeah. I feel like it's intuition first. Like
mm,
you have that intuitive hit, and then you are looking at the data to see if there's something else that
yeah,
changes. And so I feel like we go through that a lot where we have that, because even like with Facebook ads, it's up, it's down, things are working, things aren't working, this is working, that isn't working. There's a sense where like if you just look at the data, you could drive yourself insane, you know?
yeah,
And so I think having that intuitive hit of, I remember saying to you like, hey, this thing isn't working that well with ads. And you're like, oh yeah, it's because intuitively we need to burn it all down. And I was like, oh fuck. Like you're right. And there's no data to tell you that. So I think from my perspective, the intuition for you is always more powerful. And then we're really almost like backing the data into the intuitive while
mm,
checking ourselves, you know, but I think it's the intuition that's leading us most of the time.
yeah. I mean, the more I listen, the better it gets. So, I mean, that's really like part of my practice is like, how much am I willing to lean into that and
Mm.
not be so almost like so data driven?
Yeah. And it's interesting because I have a bunch of client questions that we'll get to in another episode, but someone asked, which I think this is like actually a really good point to bring it up, is how do you kind of manage your reality of the in between of trusting your
Mm.
intuition and making a decision? And obviously that decision may not bear the fruit immediately. So what are you doing between you making a decision and you seeing the success? What are you doing between those two pieces?
Oh, a lot of prayer. I don't,
Just a post and pray method?
no. I mean, you have to trust enough that you're taking the right amount of action, doing it, and then walking away.
Mm,
Because how much more, I mean, for me, I'm not saying because I know a lot of people are slower movers than me, but like on a daily basis, inside my normal day-to-day life, like I'm not going to post 100 times. I'm not going to send 100 emails. So I have to let enough be enough and let it be more than enough, even when it's not like coming back as fast as I want.
mm,
So it is like, know what you have to do, know like you're 100% for the day, and then let that be more than enough because otherwise you just look for busy work that you're not doing.
yeah,
So I think you have to understand and have a real, and we talk about this, like, when are you doing enough that you're just comfortable? And how do you get outside of that comfort zone? And then how do you balance that with knowing, no, this was enough for today, and I'm just gonna walk away. I'm gonna go get a coffee
literally
or
take a
go,
walk.
yeah, like literally do anything else but work. But I think a lot of people operate from the it's not enough
Mm,
and there always could be more. And while there always could be more, like, is essentially true on a day-to-day basis, like, where are you operating from?
yeah. I think this leads to a lot of people falling into that overwhelm trap and that burnout is because they've trained themselves that they can never do enough work.
Yeah.
And so their reality is constantly looking for more work that they can do. And I feel like one of the interesting things is that our audience is primarily women, is probably 90, 95%, especially when you think about clients. So obviously you are more like them that way. But I think like in personality and energetics, a lot of times I'm more like our clients because I am that person who does have that vision of just like, oh, I just need to find work to do and I need to go do it. I need to be
Mhm.
a worker bee and then go do this work and then I'll get paid. And I feel like that's something that you keep coming back to. It's like, no, we need to do things differently. We need to think about things differently. And I mean, I think about even yesterday, you were like, "Oh, you don't have any calls till 2:30? Like, let's take a ride. Let's go get a coffee. I've got to go run an errand. Like, it'll be great." And I like my immediate thought was, I don't have time for that. I have to do something. And I was like, "Oh, well, that probably means I need to go do this, you know?" And of course, it was just like being out there, getting a coffee, having a change of scenery is all that's important. And then even thinking back further, I remember when I had was looking for part-time jobs and I was applying to on Craigslist with like resume after resume and you were like, "Is this really what you want to be doing?" And I was like, I don't know. Like, this is just the
Yeah.
normal. So I feel like you do such a good job of having that reframe of what most people think is the normal thing to do, thinking through it and being like, well, maybe just because it's normal, it's not the right thing. And I think that has been such an influence on our personal life of you looking at the norms out there and just asking the question, just because it's normal, is it right? You know? And
Mm.
so do you see yourself doing that?
Thinking I don't wanna be normal?
Well, yes, and asking yourself that question of just like, okay, this is the normal path of like everyone does that. Do you see yourself making that decision of like, oh, I need to pull myself away from slipping in the normal? You know, like because
No,
no,
no, I've never identified with normal. So I don't even I look at most people's decisions and I'm like, "Ooh."
yeah,
Like, I don't have to try to not do that. I think the only time probably is, like, with kids stuff. Like, great example, if I get a birthday party invitation and I
mm,
know that, like, Isabel doesn't really wanna go and I don't really like, it'll be, like, smack in the middle of a Saturday, like, 25 minutes away. I'll still say no, but I'll be like, "Ooh, should I do that?" And then I'm like,
mm,
"No, she doesn't wanna go, I don't wanna go. What am I
yeah,
gonna do? Say yes so we're both tortured to be there?" So, I think that like, things like that with the kids, but I still will,
yeah,
like, mostly stand strong.
I would say,
Well, mostly because you have things like that they're gonna participate in school, like the variety show. Does anyone really want to do that? No, but, like, it's part of the culture of the school, so that
yeah.
I'll I say yes to.
You bought pretzels for them at the grocery store that I was against. That's normal.
It was goldfish.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Okay. So I just kind of wanted to move like to the present because we talked a lot in the past about
Mhm.
like what decisions you had made, how those. So is there a decision right now that you are like struggling with or that you're like still figuring out what the correct answer is? Is there anything that's going on in like your business or personal that you're working through that you're like it hasn't been solved yet or that the result has not
Yeah.
been worked on
Well,
yet?
I don't know that it's like a result, but I always like I have such a big vision for our business and for the women that I want to help and just like showing them the freedom your business can give you that I want it to be so much bigger. And the how of that, I feel like, isn't very formed, and there's so many things that I wanna do, like having a big in-person event, like, things like that, and I just am like, "Oh, I haven't figured that out yet." So
Mm,
it's not that it's a problem, but sometimes you just have to be okay with not knowing how things are going to unfold, and I think you and I try a lot to, like, work backwards from, "Okay, this is the done thing." But when you don't quite know what the done thing is, it's kinda hard to work backwards. So, I feel like for a while, we've been in I have been like, what is the done?" You know, it's never done, but, like, what does this look like?
yeah.
And I haven't quite figured that out, but even doing, like, this iconic series is, like, playing into that vision, so we do take forward
Yeah.
motions, but I think I am okay with not know well, first of all, you're never gonna know how it's gonna unfold, right, 100% of the time, but sometimes we trick ourselves into thinking we're gonna know how it's going to unfold. So you have this, like, perfect vision. So I think that is just, like, sitting in the in between of that.
Yeah.
And then personally, we are in the process of building a home, and we don't 100% know how that's gonna unfold or when exactly we're gonna move in or when exactly it's going to be done. And you and I have been sitting inside this process for about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And that has been a big expander for us and just saying, like, I know this house is meant for me. I know this house wants us more than almost we want it. And we're just going to trust that it's going to
Yeah.
happen and it's going to unfold and it's going to be beautiful and we're going to get there.
Yeah. I mean, today is that perfect example of we've had so many conversations of if we were to double, triple, quadruple the business this year, what would need to change. And we love having those conversations. And I feel like we had like 2 or 3 of them in a month's time. And every answer was, we just need more eyeballs. We need more leads. We
Yeah.
need more vision. And we've never come to, I don't think we've ever come to that conclusion so quickly before. Usually it's like, oh, we need more sales calls, or we need more
Yeah.
things like that. And, but I feel like for the first time, we were like, oh, it is just it's a traffic problem at this point, you know? And so that led us to have the discussion of like, okay, what could we do to get more traffic? Obviously Facebook ads, obviously this kind of stuff. But I think where you always come from the lens of is like, okay, well, what would be a different way, you know? And so I think what's interesting is you get into those scary decisions is like, how ridiculous is it to have Brianne and Danny come to our house for a day and have people come to our
Mhm.
house and do this? But it is, you know, that match of, okay, if that's where we're going, then these are the actions that I know I need to take now to get me closer to where we are going. And then trusting that everything else will kind of fill in. So I think that today is a really good example of that.
Mhm.
What has you the most excited right now? And this could be personal or business, but like what's the thing that like gets you the most lit up, the most excited about right now?
Our client results, honestly. I think our clients are just building such big momentum, and I see just how much they're doing and how much they're growing, especially for our clients who've been literally working with us for years.
Mm,
I mean, like Ren's in the process of building her dream home, and she just up leveled all the services she's doing. Liz was just here, sitting here for an interview, and has thousands of people signed up for her summit. Like, I could just go through like line by line the
mm,
results our clients are having, and in a time where a lot of people are struggling. And
yeah.
I think it is a testament to the people we work with, and how much they're willing to put in the work and stay committed. And it's a testament to the services that we offer and how different they are to anything else out there, and how when you work with us, you get an entire team. You don't just get the Nicole show. Like, you get
Mm,
the entire team that we have put together, and it's a phenomenal team. And also get excited about the people I get to work with every day, and the women I get to work with, and just the partners that we have inside our business. So, I mean, there's so much.
yeah. I think you've talked about this on a few different podcasts about team and just how when we first started this business, I don't think either one of us wanted a team, felt equipped to manage a team. How has your vision on team changed?
It has changed a lot when I almost, like, stopped, like, I used to think, "Oh my gosh, am I the type of person who deserved a
Mm,
team?" And almost, like, made myself so self-important that it was about me, and realized, like, it's actually not about me at all. It is about the business, it's about the vision, it's about the clients, and team to me just, like, means working with really great, talented people who I happen to lead. But
mm,
there's no pedestaling of me or them or even our clients. I think that's what a lot of people, it's like the celebrity effect, where you put a celebrity on a pedestal and then you meet them and it's like, oh, they're a person too. But I think a lot of people do that, where they think, "Oh, if I have a team, then that's going to put me on a pedestal, and who am I to do that?" And when I just had this conversation with a client too, where I was like, "There's no pedestal here. Like,
mm,
it's just people have their gifts, and I just happen to be leading this team, but you're just working with people who are really good at what they do, and you get to do more of what you love to do when you have the right team."
yeah. I just kind of want to like go into the future for a little bit. But before we get into like, I don't know, and any like plans for the future, is there anything you see in the industry right now that you think that you are like, I always ask clients this. I'm like, what is the thing that you see in your own industry that caused you to like bang your head against the wall or will like want to scream from the rooftops? Like, what is the thing that you think people are either focusing on that they shouldn't be focusing on, doing like actions they should be? What is the thing that drives you the most crazy when you look at the online industry right now?
Oh, where do you start with that? I mean, I think a few things. First of all, like, let's talk about the fact that, like, people love to spend money.
Mm,
People love to buy. And when you don't have a way to help people, they're going to go buy from someone else and you're
Mm.
missing out on changing lives. I think a lot of people haven't caught up to the pace that most people are running at, most buyers are buying at. And instead of like, people think, oh, people aren't buying, and we used to talk about like the antitrust era, when I actually see us being past, like we were calling out the antitrust era in 2022 and 2023 where trust was an issue. I actually think we're so far past that people haven't caught up to it yet.
Mm.
But the way that trust is built has just changed. And if you're struggling in business, you just haven't caught up to that change yet, where you're selling in a way that matches to how people actually want to buy. And that's why we've done so well. That's why our clients have done so well, is because we see the changes, we anticipate the changes, and then we make the change. We don't sit around and say, you know what, I'm just going to see in 3 months from now. That's what drives me crazy, is all the people who just want to see what's going to happen and see the change as the risk, when you not making the change is the risk. So how long are you going to put off this success? And it gets me really fired up, because I'm like, things could be so different for you and it's actually not that big of a lift, but you're so resistant to change and evolving that you're just continuing to sit in struggle for so much longer than you have to.
Mm.
Because if you just were willing to look at a few things and make a few changes, then your
Yeah.
sales would be popping off. So that's the first thing. The second thing is just making business so personal, and just like almost centering yourself, to making yourself, and people don't even realize they do this, but like every time you make your client's problem your problem, every time you don't do something because you're afraid of what's going to happen, you're just like centering yourself around everything. And it's actually just selfish, instead of finding and understanding, how do I detach from this? How do I see that whatever this person is going through has nothing to do with me? So I'm just going to be there to help them.
Mm.
So I think people just over personalize business and don't realize, like, really the work to do is figuring out how to detach yourself so you actually can be the best coach, the best business
Yeah.
owner, the best CEO that you can be, when it's just not about you. And the more you realize it's not about you, the more you will put yourself out there, the more you'll put your message out there, the more content you will create, the more people you can help. When you realize, no, this actually isn't just about me. This is just a numbers game. This is just, how many times can you put your message out there? How many times can you coach clients and not have everything come down to it being about you or being about a result that you're going to get?
Yeah, I'm so glad you made that connection, because that's immediately what I thought of, is like, when you are afraid to sell and you are having these like personalized thoughts of like, oh my gosh, I'm terrible, I'm bad at
Mm-hmm.
this, they're not doing well because of me. That's just feeding back to you not selling as much,
Yeah.
so that's, it's such a difficult loop to be in. I feel like just kind of wrapping up is like looking towards the future, especially with our business. Like, where do you see our business going in the next like year to 3 years, or more if you wanted to go even crazier than that, but a year to three? Where do you see, in terms of like, what's your next big goal? What are your next big like projects? Like, what do you see yourself working on a year or 3 years from now?
Mm, Part of me wants to say I don't think that far into the future, but I'll give you something. I mean, I really see like what we are doing as a movement, especially for CEOs who want to build a business that has freedom. And it's funny because it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm just going to like sit on the beach. Like obviously we did that in February for a week and sat on the beach without our computers, but it's not necessarily that. It's more like, hey, I want to build a really great family life. I want to build this really great life where I'm making an impact not only for my clients, but on my family, on my kids. And my business is the thing that gets me there.
Mm.
And it is about building the movement around having wildly profitable and wildly fun businesses for experts who are cycle breakers in their families, their communities, and for their people. So I without getting into like my full, beliefs, but I like building worlds and building an experience that people want to be a part of, I think is paramount to brands who want to succeed in this year and next. So we're looking at ways to do that.
Yeah. And do you feel like there's a next version of yourself that you need to step into to do that? And are you doing anything right now to get there? Or do you think it's more of just like the continuation of the same?
There's infinite, I don't know, infinite parallel timelines and universes. Yeah, of course. I'm excited to meet her. And I mean, right now, like personal development wise, the number one thing is like working on my own self love journey and self image journey and how I perceive and see myself. So that's what I'm working on.
All right. How did I do? Did
I
I
think you
leave it?
did actually really good. You
Okay.
actually superseded my expectations.
Wow. Okay. You have
Yeah,
very high
I
standards.
know.
So I did probably too much work for this. But I wanted to have clear questions because I knew if I didn't have things written down, you would take over and start asking
Yeah,
questions.
true. I
So
would.
I needed to make sure that I had a specific order of things. Is there anything else we should go over or talk about? I mean, I didn't want to go super into like marketing and worlds and things like that. So we could
Yeah.
definitely touch on that if you wanted, but is there anything that you wanted to share or
No,
talk
I
through
think
more?
I think that was really good. And I would just say, like, if you're listening to this episode and you have follow-up questions, we'll be doing follow-up episodes. So just send us a DM.
Yeah, please, we live together, so we can.
That's true.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Nicole. This was fun.
Thanks.